Today we are here with an ocean advocate, sustainability legend, and a close friend of mine, Kal Glanznig. Now, Kal, thank you for coming on.
Great to be here, Sammy.
Because we only have so many hours in the day. How do you do more without completely crumbling?
Aligning your time and really making sure you're spending your time on the things that are going to really move the needle.
67% of young people have their mental health impacted by climate change from climate anxiety.
Yeah, no one can change the world. Every single person has their own unique world. Young person just removes that glass ceiling that says that you can't do something because you're young. And that's what the world desperately needs right now is youth energy, youth ideas. The world is literally going to change overnight.
One of your first projects, plastic-free Cronulla, actually helped ban plastic in general.
We had a training session that plastic and rubbish getting all over us. Literally, as we're swimming, there's just the grossest thing ever that the coach said, all right, everyone, training's over, everyone get out.
Because plastic.
Absolutely crazy. This is a sport I love that I can't do because of plastic pollution.
Today we are here with an ocean advocate, sustainability legend, and a close friend of mine, Kal Glanznig. Now, Kal, thank you for coming on.
Great to be here, Sammy.
Now, one of your first projects, plastic-free Cronulla, it's a massive project and it actually helped ban plastic in general. How do you even go about starting something like that?
So with my water polo background, we train in our local bay, Gunnamatta Bay, which is such a beautiful part of the world in God's country, the Shire.
Love it.
And we had a training session that as we're swimming, as we were passing the balls for water polo, there was just so much plastic and rubbish getting all over us. So literally, as we're swimming, there's just rubbish getting all, is the grossest thing ever.
Yuck.
That the coach said, all right, everyone, training's over, everyone get out.
Because plastic.
Yeah, the water's too polluted. And I just remember sitting in my car and just being like, this is absolutely crazy. This is a sport I love that I can't do because of plastic pollution. So I thought, what can I do to really address this? And then doing a bit of research and thinking about the best way to advocate and create change, working with the business community meant that you're actually getting rid of plastic at the source. So if you don't have local businesses that are supplying plastic straws, supplying plastic cutlery, plastic cups, takeaway containers, all of these items, then it's going to mean less pollution gets out into the environment. So started Plastic Free Cronulla to work with the business community, provide a fun program, give them certificates, get them in the local paper, and really build a strong community cause as to why all these businesses should ban plastic.
When you had this idea, you're sitting in your car, you got the idea. What's your action plan? Super simple that I could understand of Cal sitting in his car. I want to start plastic free Cronulla. What's your action plan to make that happen?
The next step, I think it's just ideating, writing it out and working out who's the best person to talk to. So for me, it was the local business chamber. So Mark Aprilovic, who was the president at the time, we called up and then he said, all right, with this idea, if you
Mark's a great guy.
Yeah, a legend. So if you pitch it to all the local businesses, you can potentially get some funding to cover the website costs and stickers and certificates and that sort of thing. So that was sort of the next step. And I feel like with a lot of the projects I do, it's all right, who are the people around in your community that you can really lean on and learn from to be able to get that change made?
Those stakeholders. And it's not the first change you make. In fact, there was an earlier change. You actually made sure you got solar panels put in at your school and managed to find funding for it and create a pathway for other schools. Can you tell me about how you sorted that out?
Yeah, that was a very unconventional journey to getting solar. And for me, I tried so many different ways. So I wrote a letter to the deputy principal. At the time I was in year 10, so 16 years old, thinking, all right, how do I, make a difference with climate change and, the environment, which is often such a big topic and such a big problem that it's very hard to feel like you can make a difference. So I thought, all right, maybe getting solar would be such an easy thing to do. Yeah, decided to write a letter, spent all these afternoons. I'm like, all right, job done, wrote this letter and then didn't hear anything back. So I spent all these afternoons, wrote this letter and I thought, all right, maybe it's because I'm not in a position of power at the school. So year 11 SRC comes around and I put my hand up and I run for the SRC in year 11.
What's an SRC?
Student Representative Council. So the sort of leadership of our year group.
Is that school captain, vice captain, or was that?
No, this is
different?
the year before. So year 11.
Okay.
So year 12 was running for school captain. Okay. So in year 11, I stand in front of my whole year and I say, all right, vote for me for school, not for school captain, vote for me for the...
we'll get to that bit.
Vote for me for the Student Representative Council, and I'm going to advocate and try to get solar panels. And then the person after me just played with the fidget spinner, and then the person after them just did a rap for their speech. So I thought, all right, I'm definitely going to get into the SRC. I'm the only one who's actually had an idea of what I wanted to do if I got in. And so everyone went and voted, and then they read out the results a couple of weeks later, and
Did
it
you get
was everyone else. It was the guy that did the rap, the guy that played with the fidget spinner. So I didn't get in.
The fidget spinner guy beat your pitch to get solar panels on the
Yeah,
school.
obviously my year
Were they
were not
taking the
that
piss? What were
passionate.
they?
Yeah, it was so. Anyway, year 12 starts, and I think this is my last chance to get solar. Like, this is my last year at the school. It's an idea I've had for a while. I wanted to sort of see it through.
Yeah. Letters ignored. Fidget spinners getting beaten.
Yeah.
Now's
What
the
else do
time.
I have? All right, I'm going to run for school captain, was my thinking. I'll get school captain, then the principal will have no, I guess, way out of getting solar. So I put my hand up to run for school captain, and learning from what happened the year before and making sure I'm like, all right, maybe I'll do something a bit more fun this year than just standing in front of my whole year and saying, vote for me and I'll get solar. So I thought I'd do a prank for my school captain speech. And growing up, I loved watching the show Prank Patrol, which was on the ABC. So I just randomly, I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could get Scott Tweedy from Prank Patrol, who was the host of the show, to come down to my school in Caringbah and, yeah, do a prank. So sent him a message on Instagram and I said, oh, hey, Scott, hope this finds you well. I've got an idea to do a prank for my school captain speech. And the most like flukish random coincidence, he got back and said, all right, mate, I'm pretty keen and this sounds pretty funny. So we spent a good couple of weeks planning this prank out. It was going to be great.
Did you meet with him in person beforehand?
No, we had a couple phone calls and
Yeah.
and then the first time we met in person, he was like full disguised, rocking up to my high school for this
That's
prank.
so funny.
So I got the approvals, like did everything I needed to do to bring in a visitor from outside into the school. And so we go and we do this prank. And so I remember vividly, pulls off his wig and he's like, I'm Scotty from Prank Patrol. And the whole year just absolutely erupted. It was just like everyone was screaming, everyone was carrying on. It was the craziest thing. And then everyone went and voted really quickly, obviously for me, well, hopefully. And then everyone was going and getting photos with him. Like it was just the craziest experience for the whole school.
Surely, how could this not work? Everyone loves you.
Yeah.
They're going to vote for you.
I was thinking I'm finally going to be able to get solar panels. I was like, yes. And then in the afternoon, there's a lot of chatter going around. So I hear in my business studies class that apparently I'm disqualified from being school captain.
You heard from another student?
Yeah. So I was
Who
like,
told that?
It's just like, I heard from this teacher that apparently Cal's disqualified. And I'm just hearing that. Someone's in the front row talking. I was like, what? What'd you say? And and then it turns out that the principal didn't really like that I did a prank for my school captain speech. So he withdrew me from being school captain.
The principal cancelled your attempt.
Yeah. So
On what basis? Were there any rules? Was it just him?
He thought it was unfair to the other candidates.
See, you've told me this story before, and that makes me angry because how is it unfair to come out with a great idea and execute on it? I feel like having an unfair advantage because your idea was so good is a testament to the idea and not the lack of you being able to be a good school captain.
Yeah, and the year felt the exact same. Like they weren't, I guess, just voting based on the one speech. It was like, all right, well, what's the last 6 years? And it was a really like hard thing to swallow at the time because you put all this energy and effort in and then to have sort of the goal completely just taken away unjustly. And then after it, everyone had to re-vote, but my name was taken off the sheet. So we all had to re-vote for who we wanted to be school captain without my name on it. So it was a very interesting lesson to learn as a 17-year-old.
What lesson do you learn from that? Because for me, the takeaway is like, oh, if I do too good, I'm just taken out.
I think the lesson at the time.
I reckon the lesson is the education system made a mistake.
I mean, I feel like it all ended up working out, but the lesson I remember, like, I don't know if it was my mum or someone said, it's like, this isn't going to be the biggest setback you have in your life. So obviously at the time, like it's all thinking about and all you wanted to do because you feel like that's the pathway to getting the solar and having that opportunity to do that. But I've come to learn that, there's always a silver lining. And for me, going into year 12, the principal and the deputies and everyone felt really guilty about what they did. Like, I think they realized they made a mistake and it was just the heat of the moment decision by them to fully withdraw me. So when I ended up, I got into the SRC, the Student Representative Council, and I decided, because I went and met with the principal now in this position of power at the school, and I said, hey, like, I really want to get solar panels. And he said, oh, why don't you just tell everyone to turn the lights off? And that's going to have the same effect of saving power.
Really?
And I was like, oh, it's not the same.
Are you like furious at this principal? Like he took you out of the running for school captain?
No, I feel like you can't
Wasn't-
hold grudges. And
Okay.
yeah, like I ended up, when he retired later in year 12, I was the one who gave the speech on behalf of all the students and, you know, thanked him for what he did. And yeah, so I feel like I can move on and not really hold
Yeah,
on to.
I am similar. I don't really hold any grudges.
Yeah, you don't want to have that negativity.
I get that.
But yeah, so I emailed after the principal told me that, you know, solar's not really a great idea. It's expensive, yada, yada. I just decided to email the Department of Education and I just said, hey, I'm a student from this school and our school's really keen to get solar, which we definitely weren't. You know, what's the process to do this? And so we're emailing back and forth during the summer school holidays. Thankfully, it was the school holidays. First day back of school, term 1, the principal drags me into his office and he's like, Cal, why were you emailing the Department of Education? They had told me you've been emailing them over the summer break. And I'm like, yes, sir, I have. He's like, look, like you probably shouldn't have done that, but the cost of solar has come right down. So if you're really keen to get solar panels installed, go and, you know, raise the money yourself. So long story short, I fundraised $50,000.
Where from?
From our P&C. So coincidentally, the parents in community, the P&C had exactly $50,000 in their bank account. And I convinced them to put it all into solar so that they could get a great investment for them because every year they get an extra $17,000 that they can spend anyway because the state government matched it with $50,000 as well. So yeah, $100,000 worth of solar and became the first student in the country to do that. And then from there helped 20 other schools to get solar now that I had a nice journey and process to sort of know how to get that government scheme and what the process was, which was quite easy for schools to really sign up for and do. So yeah, it all worked out in the end. But yeah, a few pranks and a few missteps in the way.
It's funny. I spoke to Scott Tweedy about that because we had him on the podcast as well, and he had no idea that it cost you the school captaincy. He thought because the day went so well that you would have gotten it.
Yeah, you'd think so. That's
He actually felt bad. He was like, I feel bad now.
Yeah, well, I feel like it all worked out, and then with water polo as well. Like I had to missed a lot of school that last year of going to world champs and everything. So the school were very lenient, and yeah, I feel like it all worked out. And it's a much funnier story of getting solar than just having the letter in year 10 supported straight away. I feel like it taught me a lot about just navigating to really try to make an impact and not letting one wall be the final stopper for you. Like how do you just dig under it or walk around it? So yeah, it was good fun.
Now, I know you've had a lot of success with Delphina and other businesses, but your first business, Job Buddy, can you tell me about that? Because I think everyone thinks when they start a business, their first one will be successful and you'll be able to run for the stars from there. Can you tell us about Job Buddy and how you went about that and when you moved on from it?
Yeah, it's a great idea. So if anyone listening wants to run with it, feel free to do it because it's still doesn't exist. But I guess the finishing high school and really wanting to try to make an impact for the environment, the pathway that I was sort of wanting to go down is that sort of Mike Cannon-Brookes or like people who have accumulated wealth in other areas and then use it for impact and use it to try to save our environment. And that was what I felt like was the biggest way to make impact, the fastest way to make impact. And the idea I had, which came through high school, was this business called Job Buddy, which is pretty much trying to create a version of word of mouth where you're working with suppliers, so say a tutor, a hairdresser, a diving coach, a painter, whatever it is. So these service providers, which a lot of the time when you try to find a good painter, you go through your yellow pages or you post on Facebook who can recommend a good painter or you call up your friends. Like it's a very clunky system. So Job Buddy was a platform that used Facebook. So you logged in with Facebook. It comes up with your friends and mutual friends. And instead of hiring strangers, you're hiring people that either you know personally or is a mutual friend or that your friends and mutual friends have recommended. So instead of trying to find a tutor that you go through, you know, Google or whatever it is, and there's so many different companies, you can see who your friends have recommended and then hire them straight on the app and then still pay them cash and do anything. So similar to Airtasker meets Facebook meets sort of more word of mouth. And yeah, launched the company So yeah, went to Sydney Uni, joined like this like startup incubator sort of thing first semester, and then yeah, sort of went through the journey of starting that company, getting this website developed. Had about 300 users, and then at the same time as I was launching that, the swimwear company that I was doing marketing for just absolutely like exploded in growth with doing custom face masks during COVID. So I was sort of in this like two minds of, do I really go all in and try to build this startup, or do I learn as much as I can and really see this opportunity with COVID with the face masks? And yeah, ended up doing full-time marketing whilst I was studying full-time and then training and playing water polo as well. So yeah, it was good fun.
And then you went from growing and having a crack at starting your own business, to
Mm.
then going into a company that was expanding and had kind of exponential growth
Mm.
during COVID. How much did you learn throughout those years you were at that swimwear company? Because you would have seen the business go, we went from metrics we've spoken about just through the roof.
Yeah, it was nuts. And so I was pretty much the first employee when I was an intern in high school. So Tyler, who started Delphina, the swimwear company, was looking for someone to put files in folders and do a lot of like very basic intern social media sort of things. And he reached out to my mum, who was working at NSWIS at the time, the New South Wales Institute of Sport.
That was with us,
Yeah,
with me.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
good place, good breakfast there.
Not bad.
And mum said, "Oh, look, my son's only 16, but I feel like he could probably do it, and you don't have to pay him." So, yeah, started interning in high school, and then yeah, so was pretty much Tyler's first employee, and we went from a team of 2 and then 3 during the start of COVID, and then eventually when I left Delfino, when I left as general manager there, I had 13 people working for me. So we had a huge growth over those years, and particularly during COVID, I remember going from not that much experience in the marketing space to reading a lot of books, just immersing myself in everything email marketing, like Google Analytics, Facebook ads, social media content, PR, product design, got our Shopify store firing, and we were turning over a lot of money, and like every shipment of face masks we were selling out, like it was the craziest, like big hours, but learnt so much, and that really propelled me into a big leadership position in the company where they realized I wasn't just a uni student, that I had potential to really grow into different roles and steer the company in different ways. And then that led to working full time there, and being offered to run the company.
When you've got like a lot of growth, how do you manage bringing people on and committing like a salary? Do you just keep most people as contractors or casual
No,
work? Like, how do you manage that risk of employing someone full time?
Yeah, I mean, you want to find really good people, and I think for me, we hired quite a few through the usual sort of like LinkedIn jobs or Seek or things like that. But the biggest thing for me was like in the sort of aquatic sportswear world, it's like, how do you find really good humans that you want to work with, that bring, the same values to the company, that they're passionate about giving back to the sport. So we're able to find a lot of really cool people, a lot of my friends, which they're all still working there now, which is good fun. But yeah, a lot of people that just wanted to give it a crack. And with that as well, the risk of sort of bringing them on as like full time and putting those funds and the revenue into hiring people, you obviously need to take risks, and you can't hire everyone straight away, but you just keep growing, and then they succeed, and then you have the runway to then hire someone else. And so it just kept building and building and building, and it was a very fun chapter of my life, and definitely gave me the opportunities, I guess, to travel the world and you go to the factory, learn a lot of different skills that I've been able to take into this next chapter as well.
Yeah, because how important is it to have an office? I remember just the change you went from not having an office to having an office of
I,
Delfina, and then putting everyone in that office. How much does that help the business versus everyone just working remotely? Because at the moment for my stuff, a lot of us just work on different things remotely and not together at one place.
I feel like there's definitely pros and cons to both. I think for us, a big pro was that we're doing a lot of product development and sort of physically needing to be there with the team to review samples, and then also all the items that were shipped out every day. So it just helped being there in case we needed to assist or sort of make sure things were getting shipped to the right place. But definitely like that team culture. Yeah, like we had a very flexible work environment. Like 2 of our staff went to the Paris Olympics and to be able to like support them through their journey. And yeah, if they were rocking up late because of training, like it was, yeah, very flexible, but it was good working with everyone and having that ability to bounce off people, but quite happy also working remotely as well.
Because you then left to start your own stuff and you've made a documentary. Now, how do you go from running a swimwear company to producing a documentary?
Yeah.
It's a monumental jump about sustainability. Like,
yeah.
It's amazing. And I was part of it. And
Mm.
to do something that covers a really important topic and have it really successful, like how did you make that change?
Yeah, I feel like the journey that I sort of went on, as I sort of say, like through high school and university, I sort of had this strong passion for the ocean and plastics and the environment. And my North Star with what I was started with Job Buddy or what I was doing with Delphina was always that goal of how do I accumulate these resources essentially to then reinvest to do good for the planet. And what I was very fortunate to be part of the World Ocean Day Youth Advisory Council, which you were a part of. We're in the same cohort, which was good fun.
Both alumni.
Yeah. And then that journey led me to being invited to go to the United Nations Climate Conference in Egypt, in Sharm el Sheikh at the end of 2022. So I was invited to go speak over there.
Where you found the girlfriend?
Yeah. Yeah, it was an incredible experience. And going over there and just meeting so many incredible young people all across the world that were just so passionate about wanting to try to create change just led me to realizing, all right, well, in Australia, like we have such a big opportunity to make a difference. And unfortunately, in Australia, like we're one of the world's largest exporters of fossil fuel. And we, at the time, were, and I'd argue nearly still now, are not on track to hitting all the different targets that we set. So yeah, I had this experience, just learnt so much about climate change, met with so many incredible scientists, like you're just there with the best of the best in the world. And I came back and I thought, all right, well, how do I get more young Australians to have a similar experience that I had, which was just, all right, we have this opportunity, we can really make a difference. There's young people that are really stepping up all over the world. How do we get as many young people in Australia to really try to, I guess, feel that sense of empowerment that they can make a difference? So I thought, all right, making a documentary would be a really great way to try to reach a lot of different people, but also for me to go on a bit of a journey, because coming from that, I guess, the sport background leading to what I was doing with Delphina, I didn't necessarily have all the answers when I'd speak at events and people would come up to me after and say, oh, I'm really passionate about, making a difference. What can I do? And I could give them the usual sort of spiel or different things, but I deep down didn't feel like I had all the answers. So that's what
are those answers?
Yeah, the documentary Rising Up was just all about trying to find them. And the biggest thing that literally every single person I interviewed said, it didn't matter if it was Zali Steggall, a leading politician, whether it was a guy who invented bins that cleaned plastic out of the ocean, or top advocates from the least visited country in the world, Tuvalu, like everyone said the exact same thing. And it's that if you want to rise up, if you want to make a difference, it all starts with the first step. And a lot of the time when we think about these huge global problems, we just think that they're too big. Like, what's the point? I can't change the world. There's no point in doing anything. But if everyone has that mindset, nothing's going to change. But if you flip it, and if everyone has the mindset of taking that first step, just doing that one little thing, the world is going to change so quickly. So that was, I guess, the tagline of Rising Up, is it all starts with the first step. And the film is pretty much my journey traveling through the Pacific Island nations, really unpacking climate change and what it means to young people in our neighbours. Like from Samoa to Brisbane is closer to Brisbane to Perth. Like these are our neighbours that are so connected to our country, but are absolutely at the forefront of the huge impacts of climate change.
And starting small is so important. Like I even remember, like when you look at progression of Sam straws, like if you make such small progress when you start that it just feels like insurmountable, and then you get that snowball effect and things start to move way quicker, and you get on top of it and you get some momentum. But like that's only made by just sheer pushing through all those small steps to get there. So it really does make a difference. And where else can you start? Like, it's the only place you can. And that impact does go a long way.
Yeah, and everyone starts from that first starting point as
Mm.
well. Like, and I think your story is so powerful in the film, and for particularly a lot of high school students that are watching it, because they're thinking, oh, I'm in year 9 now, I'm in year 10 now, I have an opportunity to start a business or make a difference. And I think a lot of the time when you meet different people, and through this documentary I met some really incredible humans that I've looked up to for a really long time, really incredible entrepreneurs and innovators and people really making a difference. And it's easy to put other people on a pedestal and just think
They can do it and
they
I
can do
can't.
it, I can't, or that's crazy, like that's impossible. But when you hear the same thing time and time again from people, and it all starts from that first starting point, that everyone can take that first step of what's in their control and give it a crack, and what's the worst that's going to happen. I think that gives me a lot of hope and drive, and it's given a lot of people that have watched it, like tens of thousands now in schools across the country have watched this film. And there's been so many incredible people reach out that have just felt super inspired from it. So yeah, it's been a really exciting journey with that. And I guess after making the film, I was invited to go back to the UN climate conference in Dubai at the end of 2023. So this was just finished filming the last weekend of November. Um, a week, literally the last weekend in November, and then 2 days after we finished filming, I was flown over to Dubai to go back to this conference again. Like, so you're speaking at the same panels, you're meeting the same people, and it's great to sort of catch up and have that camaraderie. But what I kept realizing at all of these events is it's the same thing that people are reporting. Like, things are getting worse, things aren't getting better. Like, we're on the same trajectory. And yeah, 2023, I think was the hottest year on record.
Wow.
Definitely in some parts of the world. I need to fact check that. Last year was the hottest year on record, definitely 2024. But yeah, you have this a bit of like a deja vu, like a Groundhog Day, that, okay, things aren't getting better, and have I done enough? And you really look deep within yourself, and you think of the year that you've just had, and you realize that people have been suffering for this whole year. You've done as much as you can, I guess, running a company. Like, we opened an office in Japan that year as well. So we're in.
Is that with Delphina?
Yeah. So running
it's a good company too. Like the swimmers we made for my range were made from recycled plastic bottles, and it was good to see you have your sustainability impact in the company as well, and everything that you did on a sustainability front, to see you action that within the controls of the company that you had, I thought was really inspiring, because you were talking about sustainability, but then you'd also bring it back to work and say, how can we make these swimmers more sustainable? How can we make the tags out of paper instead of plastic? And that was really nice to see, even for the range that we did, because I was proud to sell them because they were sustainable, and it was good to see you put into action everything that you were talking about.
Yeah, thanks. I literally did everything I could. Like, we put solar panels in our factory in Bulgaria. We changed our inks. We changed our whole ordering process to avoid items going to landfill. Like, I did everything I could to make this company that I had within my control the most sustainable aquatics company in the world. And I realized as I was in Dubai that my North Star of trying to make as much impact for the planet, firstly, like, we don't have as much time as I thought we'd have. And secondly, there's resources out there. So if you have a good idea, you don't necessarily have to have the funds yourself to back that, $1 million idea or whatever it is. You can just find the right people around you and build something using the success of, I guess, other people that want to give back and invest. So that was the moment where I started to sort of think about, all right, well, is Delphina the best way that I could, I guess, have as much impact for the ocean and the planet as possible? And I did a big pros and cons list, and I realized that, yes, I could have great impact. I could change our materials. I could, save thousands of items going to landfill. I could, do a lot of good things. But if I left the company and spent all of that time in a completely different field, the sky's the limit, and who knows where things could go.
Now, when you go to the UN in Egypt and you get inspired, everyone's getting there wanting to improve sustainability and turn around climate change, then you come back a year later to the same UN meeting in Dubai and see that the problems are the same, if not worse. How do you deal with that disappointment and frustration, and then find the positivities to keep working hard at turning this around?
It's such a great question. And a lot of the time in the environment space, it can feel like it's a losing battle. I, the thing that I took from Dubai was that I wasn't doing enough. And not that I can change the whole world, but going there, I did as much as I could that year. And I did feel that sense of guilt, especially like meeting a lot of young people and realizing that they're being impacted by decisions that are being made in my local country, in my local area, with people that I'd been interacting with. I felt that I could be doing more. And that's what really drove me throughout all of last year and that's how you can flip it, because you can go to these places and be like, oh, well, what's the point? You know, it's too late. Or you can flip it and be
how
like,
do you manage that?
how do you just keep digging deep? Because I'm good friends with some of the world's top climate scientists now, and they still have hope. And because they still have hope and they spend all their lives.
Like Bill Mont?
Bill's a great guy, yeah.
Yeah.
But all of these really smart, incredible people have told me that there is a window that we can still turn things around. And we've got about 2 to 3 years now to really try to reduce emissions as much as possible and do as much as we can. And that's what has really shifted my mindset to be like, all right, this next few years, I'm just going to leave absolutely nothing in the tank and do everything possible.
When you look at the first year where you felt like you did everything you could, and then you go and realize that you need to be doing more, how do you double or triple that output without burning yourself out? Because we only have so many hours in the day. How do you do more without completely crumbling?
Yeah, the great question, because a lot of people do burn out in the environment space. Like there's so many, because it is very heavy, the subject matter, and you literally feel like you're fighting a losing battle. Like there is
dealing with bad news all the time.
Yeah.
Like very rarely does someone walk into, like I've been to so many of these meetings or events and it's all doom and gloom.
I think the driver for me in terms of like flipping that and feeling like how do you avoid burnout and how do you dig deeper and have greater impact is aligning your time and really making sure you're spending your time on the things that are going to really move the needle and focus on what's in your control. And for me, I was spending most of my time building the swimwear company and really trying to make that during 2023 as most sustainable, doing as much as I could. And then the film, I was literally getting home from work, going to water polo training. I'd get back at like 8 p.m. and then spend like 8 to 9:30, 10 on the documentary, and then getting it all prepared for the different filming trips that we had. But then when I realized, all right, well, how do I really dig deep? How do I find all that, the extra energy? How do I really make extra impact? I decided to leave this incredible company that I had built over 7 years, leave a very safe, steady, great job, to then go into the complete unknown and really focus on where I felt like I could have the greatest impact. And that was in, what I'm doing now with Cooper and the Blue Minds program.
Which is amazing to see, by the way, like having watched your journey for such a long time and seeing you get into Delfina, then grow it up and then get in a really good position and then say, I'm going to move out of here and do this sustainability mission. And I'm like, oh, what exactly? You're like, well, I don't know yet, but we're going to figure that out. How has it been taking a massive pay cut and then going into the unknown? How did you figure that out?
It was, it's obviously no light decision to leave a very steady job and literally have like the documentary got released and it started to have some traction in festivals and build up. So there was that. But I left the company and I remember meeting with the board and saying, look, like I could work at this company the rest of my life, but I know there's only a short window now to do everything I can for the ocean. And I know I'll regret it for the rest of my life if I don't leave at this minute and do, from here on out as much as possible. And they said, oh, well, what do you have planned? Like, do you have another job lined up? And I said, no, I literally don't have anything planned. I just know like this is what I have to do. And hopefully things work out. And I like calculated I had a good like maybe 2 or 3 months that of savings that if I didn't earn $1, I'd survive. And after that, I said to my parents when I decided to leave and they're like, oh, really? Are you sure? Like they were super supportive when I sort of laid it all out. But I told them like, look, worst case scenario, I'll work at a cafe, whatever I need to do to then build something on the side or like find a job. Like we'll give it a good couple months of just going all in and seeing where it all lands. And then worst case scenario, I'll shovel dirt for
whatever you got to do.
Whatever I've got to do to survive, to feel like I'm having more impact than what I was in this company, which was, you fix when you've got a big staff base and it was a very intense job. So there wasn't the time in the day essentially to do what I felt like needed to be done.
A lot of young people care about the environment, myself included. What's something you've learned from your documentaries and working in sustainability that all young people can do as of today, as of right now?
As of right now and today, the biggest thing is feeling like you can make a difference, because I think that's the greatest lie that we tell ourselves as young people, is that we can't make a difference because we're too young, we don't have enough money, we're not old enough, rich enough, knowledgeable enough, whatever it is. And I think if enough young people, and if every young person just removes that glass ceiling that says that you can't do something because you're young, and you realize that because you're young, you can do something because you've got these new ideas, these new ways of thinking. And that's what the world desperately needs right now, is youth energy, youth ideas. And that is the thing that I'm, I guess, devoted to right now, is how do I speak to as many young people as possible and show them that, yes, no one can change the world, but every single person has their own unique world that's made up of their friends, their family, their school, their workplace, whatever it is. That's where you can really make a difference. And if everyone does that, the world is literally going to change overnight.
Because I started Sam Straws at 16 because I saw the video of the plastic straw stuck into the turtle's nose, and I thought, I don't want to just talk about it. I want to take action and do something, and found a product which was wheat straws, and they were biodegraded into micronutrients instead of microplastics. And it was my way of having a positive impact. It was my way of having a positive impact and providing a solution to a problem. And at 16, I felt like people did rally behind me and get behind the idea and support me. So to give confidence to young people that they really can have an impact and they can have a voice. In fact, even through the work I've done with government around sustainability, I've never seen a time that has more emphasis on youth voices. I know Rose Jackson does a lot in that space. Like, in fact, I think you're going to an event with her soon. Tuesday. I actually had like 3 or 4 events come up, so I'm actually not going anymore. But I think you and Tim are going.
Flag. Yeah.
For me, represent me there.
Yeah. I think the positivity, and I feel like that's where, especially like when you, with a lot of the environment, what's happening is like, it's very easy to be angry about it and be like, turn that passion into anger and hatred and sort of be quite negative. But I've always found that bees, or honey attracts bees, is my sort of mental slogan. So if you can be positive and if you can draw people in, that's how you can actually get things done. And I feel like as a young person as well, like we're going to have to make these changes and look after our planet for literally the rest of our lives. Like it's not a 1 year or, 1 month or 1 day sort of event. Like this is a life that we're going to have to live, and we're going to have to find ways to make a difference every single day for the rest of our lives. So if you're doing that from a place of negativity and from a place that doesn't make you feel good, then you're not going to be able to do it long term.
I couldn't agree more. And whenever I hear about the environment, it's always so negative because of the impact that's happened. But I love to look at it from a positive and say, what can I do to make a difference? And then find a solution and then go down that positivity route. Because it can be such a heavy space because the issue's so large around the environment that I prefer to be in a positive position and find solutions and push positivity. Because I find the other thing is people want to get behind like joy, happiness, excitement, be on a journey rather than be told what to do.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely would say that there are moments, and when you read different reports or you see the news on different things, it's not all,
it's not all positive.
It's not all roses and it's not
that's
all
why you
positive.
need the extra positivity.
Yeah, that's when you really need to it's human to really go through those emotions and have that angst and that concern. But the thing that I keep holding on to is that we do have time to make a difference. We just have to do something. So I just find a way to turn that concern, which I'd say every few months is something that comes up that I am like, oh, really? This is we just approved, what it would have been maybe 2 months ago now, maybe 2.5 months ago, the biggest fossil fuel project ever in the Southern Hemisphere. Like Australia just approved it.
Is fossil fuel, is that oil?
It was gas, yeah.
Gas.
And so that was, which it all gets sort of shipped offshore. And that was one
Because
that...
we banned fracking in Australia. How do they export the gas?
Boat. So this is offshore gas. So there's a...
In Australian waters?
Yeah. So it's... I could talk hours about this particular project, but that was one that is quite obviously very concerning. And you just sort of, you go through those emotions when you see announcements, and I'm sure people listening or watching can sort of relate to seeing things on the news and feeling that concern. But how do you sort of go from that point and take all those different steps to then get back to that point of positivity, action? What can we do? And just getting on with the job. Because the more time that, and the more people that are in this like this, I guess, apathetic or this sort of paralysis state, we're not going to get to where we need to get to. Like, we need everyone to flip their mindset and focus on what we can do, because we have a huge opportunity in Australia to really show the world what's possible to transition our energy and really make a difference. So yeah, definitely, like, it is human to feel that way, but yeah, how do you really drive that into action?
And being overwhelmed is something you find when you take on any task. I know even with diving, when I was dealing with my back injury for the last couple of months, I couldn't even think about competing in 12 months because it was too far away. It felt an impossible task, but I could think about getting through this morning session and then this afternoon session and then tomorrow, not even thinking a week or two in advance, because it was just too difficult to think that far ahead because there was so much work. And you get analysis paralysis if you look at the whole journey. But I find just looking closer down when those times are tough, just really pull you through to have that like North Star of where you want to go, than just taking those small steps, micro steps, and taking those micro wins. Because when you look at the whole journey, it can be so intimidating, especially when it comes to something like the environment, because you're right, it's not just today, but it's decisions that need to be made moving forward forever. But talking about taking action, you took action and became a counsellor. Now, it's easy to say you've achieved that now, but what was it like when you thought about the idea and then attacked it?
Yeah, so I guess going back to sort of leaving the swimwear company and having the pros and cons list of like, all right, big decision to leave, like, what's the worst that's going to happen? The going all in and having that time to then work out, all right, well, what is needed in the world right now? And I caught up with a lot of different people in the climate and environment space, and just so many different people. And I just said, oh, what do you think's sort of missing? And I sort of ideated a few different projects. Like Rising Up was getting a lot of traction in schools. Like, it was really ramping up. So off the back of that, started a program called Blue Minds, which tackles this eco-anxiety that a lot of young people feel. 67% actually of young Australians' mental health is being really impacted by climate change.
67% of young people have their mental health impacted by climate change from climate anxiety?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what, with Cooper Chapman, who has the, I guess, mental health practical tools experience of speaking at schools about how to look after mental health. I also talk about how to look after the ocean. We decided to combine our two worlds and really tackle this problem together, which has been going incredibly well the last year. But at the same time as sort of starting that, I thought, I mean, the big sort of light bulb moment came from seeing a report about Gunnamatta Bay. So that same bay that I helped to get plastic banned.
Gunners.
Yeah,
so
Gunners.
Backflips in.
Yeah, such a beautiful part of the world. And there was a report that I read that said that the water quality had dropped from a poor rating because of not plastic anymore, but because of fecal matter, bacteria,
Sewage issues.
all the sewage and the stormwater.
Simon's spoken about that because when it rains, it like overflows and goes into Gymea Bay's even worse.
Yeah. So it's crazy that, my hometown, I'm traveling across the world, across the country, advocating for the ocean, advocating to make a difference in your local community. And my local community, didn't have any, the water's quality had dropped, which is a big passion area of mine, looking after the bays and the ocean.
So sad too, because it is a beautiful place on earth. And like the communities love those areas.
Yeah. So I read that report, and then speaking with a few council staff, I sort of said, look, like, why aren't we investing what we need to invest in stormwater and cleaning up our waterways? And they said, look, like, it's just council decisions. And I thought, okay, well, how do I sort of influence the council decisions? Because I had worked with the council with Plastic Free Cronulla, I worked with all levels of government, and the council were always super supportive of what I had done. And I realised that a lot of the decisions are made by 15 people that are these councillors. So they're the ones that are pretty much the board that oversee how our council, which is the Sutherland Shire Council, spend $330 million every year, look after billions and billions of dollars of assets, and 15 people decide the future direction of our community. So I thought, all right, well, it's not a full-time job being a counsellor, so I can still do my Blue Minds program. I can still, travel and show the film and do all these other, broader advocacy projects. But being a counsellor would be such a great, ability to really drive change in a thankless way. Like being a counsellor, you get exposed to, I get calls every day from people complaining about random things, and you help them out.
What's the most random thing someone's called up and complained about as a counsellor? Like, what's the most random issue you've heard about?
This week, someone called up about a light in a park that was a bit dimmer than what it should be. And so again, you put the request
in. And of course, you want to help out the community.
Yeah, like you sort it out. Like that's what you can do. It's really an incredible way to give back to people.
It'd be rewarding too. Even something as small as a light. Like, don't worry, we'll sort it.
Yeah, no, well, you can. And like, that's the incredible opportunity to be a counsellor, is that you write, there's 1,500 staff that work for our council. So you pass things on to the staff and they do a lot of the work to make sure that the community's looked after with their different requests and problems.
How is it similar running a business versus being a counsellor? Because when you run a business, you got employees underneath you, and then being a counsellor, you have all the council workers.
Yeah.
How does that differ from your
I'd say it's quite similar, but it's very, like, from a business standpoint, you're very involved in the operations, like the day-to-day. From a counsellor standpoint, you need to be visionary, because you could get dragged into, like, I was on the phone with this guy for maybe 40 minutes.
About the light?
Yeah. Because you want to give people the time, and you want to, especially like the community really got around. You want to be the best counsellor you can, and you want to make sure you're helping as many people as possible. But if I spent my time on the phone with different people or meeting people, like, it would turn quickly into over a full-time job. And I wouldn't be able to really set that North Star of where I feel like our council and our community can go. So you really need to spend time being that visionary, leader in the space, and working out, well, what are the things that's really going to make the greatest impact? And if our council spend $330 million a year, if I can change that even 1%, that's $3 million every year over my 4-year term, $12 million difference. But there's 15 of us, so presumably I'd be able to have a lot greater impact than 1% difference.
What's one of the biggest impacts you've been able to have as a counsellor so far, whether it's fixing a boardwalk or not even sustainability focus? It could be, but like, as a counsellor in the Shire, what's the biggest impact you've had so far and the thing you're most proud of?
Yeah, quite a few things. I feel incredibly grateful to the experience I've had so far. Like, it's been an absolute joy to be there. And I think going back to why I wanted to run, and like the pros and cons list, because as soon as I got elected, that was everything I wanted to do. Like, I've been just off to the races, doing everything I can to really drive that change. The reason why I wanted to run was obviously clean the water quality. The other big thing that I was hearing from a lot of young people and my friends, and seeing, the impacts in our community, is that as soon as people could afford to rent, they would move out of the Sutherland Shire. So they'd leave our home to go live somewhere that was a lot more fun for young people, that they felt like there was more things to do, because Cronulla,
the nightlife
after COVID, it's just completely dropped off. The nightlife is, the small businesses.
I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
When I go out for some waters.
Seriously, but I was hearing it obviously from a lot of young people, but with Plastic Free Cronulla and the relationship that I built with the local business community, they were always telling me, like, the amount of businesses that were closing, just because they, couldn't survive, because there wasn't that traction and the traffic that was needed to sustain it. So building the small business community back up in Cronulla, building some vibrancy back, was a really big pillar of why I wanted to run as well. And that was what I took to the election campaign, which was honestly, like, to decide to run was something that I was so on the fence with, because I was so nervous about to be honest, being rejected. Like when you put yourself out there and you literally like have core flutes with your face all over the community, you've got people wearing shirts with your face on it, and
I was one of them.
yeah, and you're really in a place of like everything's on the table. Like, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. And doing the pros and cons list again of like why I should run, like looking at the pros of the impact that you can make versus the cons of, I don't know, people thinking you're a loser, and you know, like the fear of rejection, the fear of embarrassment. It was a real call of like, all right, well, let's just give it a crack, because I felt really like, yes, you're going to be exposed to tens of thousands, potentially like, you know, the 200,000 people that live in the Sutherland Shire. But my friends, I felt like, would always have my back. Like, they've seen me through so many different chapters of my life, that running for council, even if they didn't support what I was doing, which I feel like the platform I ran on, everyone supported, because it's such a no-brainer.
Sustainability, like, yeah, who wouldn't get behind it?
But I felt like the people that really, truly matter in my life, like my friends and family, they're always going to have my back and they're always going to stick by me. So that fear of embarrassment, that fear of rejection, the fear of not getting elected and putting all that energy and effort in whilst I was super busy starting this Blue Minds, the fear, I guess, was outweighed by the potential of making the impact. And yeah, what's the worst that could happen? And so, yeah, decided to run and managed to get elected, which was something that a lot of the sort of political experts weren't expecting, because
Really?
yeah, like I was running in the most competitive part of the Sutherland Shire, the most conservative part of the Sutherland Shire, and someone without any political experience of how to run a campaign. Like, literally everything that I had to do everything. Like, there was no team behind me like there is for the political parties. Like, I had to organise the fundraising events, organise the...
How much did you have to raise?
It ended up costing about 25,000. So I chipped in quite a bit of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, did Barefoot Bowls fundraisers, sell raffle tickets. And a lot of my friends, showed up, and the community really started to get around it, and managed to get elected. And I guess, like, to share a story from the election day.
Please do.
The community mobilization behind me, like, I ended up getting 6,500 people out of the 30,000 that voted for me number one, which out of like 6 or 7 candidates that were running, like, that was
impressive.
Crazy. Yeah. Like, but so I got 2 Ubers that day. Went to a couple different booths, and both Uber drivers, when I got in the car, they're like, "Oh, Cal, I voted for you this morning." Complete random people.
Yeah, wow.
Like, and I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." But every demographic, like, I created this North Star of, like, a lot of the time with local government and politics generally, it is so stale, and people that run don't really have a reason outside of themselves to run. It's very like, I've done my time in the political party. It's my time to have this power or this opportunity. And for me, it was so different. It was the thing I learned, one of the days campaigning, I remember I was at one of the train stations handing out flyers of how to vote for me sort of thing, or like learn more about me at like 6 a.m. in the morning. It was brutal. And when you have like a lot of people like be nice and sort of take one, or people like, "Oh yeah, I've seen your social media or whatever," and take one, then you get a lot of people who are like, "Oh no, like, don't bother me," sort of thing. And it can be easy to feel that rejection personally and think that people are rejecting you as Cal, but they're not rejecting you or supporting you because of Cal the human. They're supporting you or rejecting you because of what you're bringing to the table. And I think that's where everything flipped, and I decided that, I was going to really like go as hard as I could during this campaign and not feel any embarrassment, because it was never about me. It was about what I wanted to do and what change I wanted to see in the community. And by putting myself out there and putting that North Star out there, so many people got around it of all demographics, and managed to get elected, which was really exciting. And to go back to your question of what the biggest wins have been, like, we just got our climate change strategy approved and adopted last Monday, unanimous. First time we've ever had a strategy like that ever put on the table and
What is part of
supported.
the strategy? If you were to give me the Sutherland Shire Council sustainability plan in some dot points, what would that be?
So the climate strategy. So firstly, how our council operations are going to reduce our emissions. So changing our garbage trucks from diesel to electric, changing our normal fleet cars that go around to electric, putting solar in different places. We just changed the pool from a gas heater to an electric heater. So trying to find ways to reduce our emissions as quick as possible. The second one with our climate change strategy is our community emissions. So how do we allow more electric vehicle chargers to go into the Sutherland Shire? Because
That'd be helpful for me X-Pang.
yeah, same
I
here.
need all the charges we can get.
Seriously.
You run your car. I've seen Cal. Cal runs his Tesla down to like 1 or 2% charge.
Sometimes 0.
Dude, I've never seen anyone else do it. That is rogue.
Yeah, I've had
That is
some
rogue.
super close calls. But yeah,
So the more charges, the better.
more charges, but from a council, it's like, how do you actually change the planning instruments to allow charges to be built in car parks? Because currently they can't. So there's so many different things, but when you have the strategy, that's where the staff can really get to work. So those 1,500 staff, that's when you set the strategy, here's the targets, they then get the job done. So that was really exciting to get that through. All the nightlife in Cronulla, so the vibrancy reforms, we actually got a big grant from the state government to really drive that. And I've passed a bunch of motions and yeah, had, again, unanimous support from all the councillors because everyone's realised that because I got elected in such a big fanfare that there is this huge groundswell of support for the ideas that I have. And probably the third one, which is one that I was probably most passionate and excited about, was our shark nets so we have 4 shark nets in Bait Bay. And
I drove past them on my jet ski a fair bit.
Yeah. So these shark nets, our bay is enormous and the nets only go for 150 meters. So the nets don't actually keep swimmers safe because the sharks can easily go around them. A lot of the sharks that get caught in the nets are actually swimming back out into the ocean. So there's other technologies and solutions out there, which is what I'm advocating for.
What other tech can we use? Because when it comes to shark technology, if you remove the shark nets, are there a way we can like put a beacon in the water that sets out this magnetic pulse that deters the sharks for a certain amount of space? Like, how can we protect swimmers if not with nets?
Yeah, there's so many solutions out there. And with nets in New South Wales, they're actually taken out all through winter. So from April till September, October, there's no nets anywhere. So they actually are out at the moment when we're recording this. But the solutions that exist, so there are listening stations where sharks that are tagged, if they swim nearby, then the listening station sort of has that signal and then alerts everyone on the beaches. They close the beaches. So
my initial thought to that though is like, surely like 1%, if not half, if not 0.1% of sharks are tagged.
Oh, it tagged. Yeah, exactly. Not all the sharks are tagged, but that is one tool.
Yeah.
But the sort of two that we've been advocating strongly for in our council is these smart drum lines. So they're drum lines that if there is a target shark, because that's the issue with the nets is that they just catch dolphins, whales, turtles, rays, like everything under the sun because it's just a barrier in the ocean. But like a barrier that sharks can still swim around. But with the drum lines, they are baited. So they actually, if a shark comes in, instead of going to the shore and maybe eating someone, they will go and find the drum line. So they'll go eat the fish on the drum line and then they'll stay there on the hook until someone goes, picks the shark up, tags it, takes it out into the ocean and drops it off. So that's catching way more target sharks and has a much higher rate of survival than the nets, which the nets catch, I think it's like I've got the stats. I feel like it might be 1 in 20 species that are caught on the nets are the target species of sharks in our particular nets.
In Cronulla, what are those target species of sharks that we need to try to be careful of?
It's all across New South Wales, the same one. So it's the white shark, so
great
whites, tiger sharks, bull sharks, and I feel like there's one more.
Those are the only 3 I'm concerned about.
Yeah. But I mean, sharks are like dogs. There's so many different species.
Yeah. I feel like I wouldn't be concerned about a hammerhead or a reef shark or a gummy shark. Like, I've swum with a fair few sharks, but I wouldn't swim with a great white.
Yeah.
by choice.
In a cage, maybe.
I think I've seen one swim under me when I was surfing in Cronulla once.
Mm.
Dude, I felt instantly vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you always think to yourself, if I saw a shark and it come at me, I'd just punch it.
Yeah.
This
just fanning.
thing swam under me, and I was sitting on my surfboard, and I was like, nah, I feel so vulnerable. I got nothing.
Yeah.
If this thing wanted to kill me, it could kill me.
Yeah. The other one's the drone surveillance as
Which
well.
it didn't.
Thankfully, you're still here. The drone surveillance. So that's where they're funding a lot of surf lifesaving board rider clubs to then fly drones to then sort of patrol, and look to see if there's any sharks there. So there are a bunch of other solutions that exist, but for us, we were the only council last year that wanted to keep the nets in before the new council term. And because of that, the state government decided to keep the nets in all across the state where they have the nets. But now we sort of changed our tune, and that was something that I felt quite proud to be part of that vote, where we decided that we wanted to advocate to get the nets removed, because the science says that the nets don't keep people safe. Like, everyone just says, invest in these other things, because the shark nets are just a barrier that traps wildlife. It doesn't actually keep swimmers safe and surfers. So, that was quite a proud achievement at the end of last year. So, yeah, it's been a very busy start to the council term, but having a good time.
Now, with council, your documentaries, Blue Minds, what's your dream? What are you working towards now? Where do you see Kal in 5-10 years?
That is such a great question. My dream is like ultimate redundancy in terms of like the things that I'm doing now. I don't want to be doing them in 5 or 10 years, because I want the problems to be solved.
Yeah, I like that.
I view these problems, particularly like the local government problems that I'm solving, what I'm trying to do to empower as many young people as possible, trying to get plastic banned in Australia. Like, there's so many different things that I'm working on. And for me, the dream would be in 5 years, not 10 years, in 5 years or less, I look back and think, wow, I'm glad that all of these things are done. Like, they're locked in, like similar to getting plastic banned in New South Wales a few years ago. Like, that was something that was a dream of what we started Plastic Free Cronulla to try to do, to ban plastic straws, ban all these items. And now looking back, it's like, great, the job's done. You can focus on something else. And I know I'm going to be doing, leaving nothing in the tank for the rest of my life in this space. But what I'm doing right now, in 5 years or hopefully less, I can look back and think, all right, I've had that impact and I've delivered that now is, permanent and it's done.
I love that, the way of working yourself out of a job and sustainability, because hopefully the problem is solved. I find that inspirational. Kal, thank you for coming on and sharing your stories. Lastly, is there anything you'd be kicking yourself if you didn't share on the podcast?
Oh,
I think we've covered everything.
Great question. No, it's been incredible to have this chat. I feel like we've had so many different journeys together, and through the sport, Delphina, like the environment stuff we've been doing together. And thanks for all that you do. And it's been an absolute pleasure to be on.
No, thank you. It's amazing to watch your journey, and only the beginning.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you.